breakfast. I repeated that there. Our members who were there, I repeated the same thing. I know they hide what the Lord say, and I know they increase, and they stop there. Whether he give solution or no give solution, no. Now where he stop, me and they stop. Then I saw Nigeria without a president. I saw that from the first day Buhari came, that there was no president on the seat. So who was ruling? I don't know. That is why there is jaga jaga everywhere. God is not ruling. Whatever spirit is ruling, is ruling. They say something, there is something about void. You cannot, something about void, you know, power, you can't leave a void. But then in the spirit realm there was a problem. And I couldn't hide it. I said, so some people say, well, since nobody was on the seat, Atiku will win. Not without a cap. And I told the Lord, if you want Atiku to wear a cap, because they were going around greeting, forgive me, Muslims look down on Christians. And a few Christians have made themselves our voices. So much that the Muslim cannot discern the right voices to go to and the wrong ones. They were to come to PFN. I was the national secretary of the PFN. I said, Father, if it is your will that Atiku wears a cap, when he comes, tell me what is the reason why the cap is not on his head. The same thing I prophesied about Raila. And tell me why he's wearing shoes and not wearing shoes, slippers, so that we can carry him through deliverance in the day when he comes to look for our vote. Make him wear a cap, because we need somebody to claim that seat. Because as long as there was no cap, he had no chair. Now, I'm telling you the story of what happened that time, which I told the fathers. And I spoke it. National television was there, NTA, but they cut off that one, and they spoke about talking about a new constitution and unity. Yes, I spoke about a new constitution, but I also spoke about Buhari, and I spoke about the president. They didn't put that one at all. They would have closed down their television. NTA was there, National Assembly. PK, were you in that meeting? Kevin was my oddly that time. No, was it Kevin or him? I can't remember now. Because I have the pictures. The present secretary, Mustafa, boss, was one who represented the president in that meeting. This man, Dogora, was in that meeting. I prayed for the two of them. The pictures are there. Told them what was the will of the Lord. That is why they don't come this way anymore. They are afraid the will again will be too wicked, or will not favor. That's why the wild wind is busy dealing with us. Like somebody said, once and for all, let God deal with this matter, let us rest. I said, I'm happy Nigeria is coming to that place where they don't care how God does it. Let him do it. Are we all in agreement on this? I wish we had the same spirit that time. And Atiku sent some people to me as secretary to the government. I know their names. They were former ministers in Jonathan's government who were Christians. They were the ones, one or two of them were the ones who took him to Oyedepo and took him to other people. But to meet PFM, because they had met, they had met Bishop Oyedepo, and I don't know whether they met that they are Adeboye. I think they did. They decided PFN didn't matter again. The fathers of PFN, they have met them, and the fathers gave them blessing. So the fathers will command the PFN. That's why I like the way that the Adeboye does his things. If you go to him, he will say, whatever my fathers in PFN, when he wants to dodge somebody, he say, whatever they say in PFN and can, I will follow that one. My vote is their vote. Even if they are wrong, I will do their will. I've heard him say that several times, not once. He said, go back to them. And he will sit down, keep quiet. And he has vowed he will never divide the church. they refused to come to the PFN. My president, Omobude, is there, Reverend Omobude. Omobude told them, if you want to fix a date, meet Kure, because I will want Kure to be in that meeting that day. He wanted to go and see me in Benin alone. He said, no, you will see us as an executive. So they came to my house in Abuja, claimed that upstairs. I remember that day. I entertained them. And they said they wanted to see us. We fixed a date. And they said they were going to tell Atiku, and they will come back. And I said, God, except if Atiku does not stand there. If he stands here, I don't care how many Christians are there. If I pray the same way for Obasanjo, Atiku will go through deliverance. Because we want a correct president with a correct atmosphere and spirit around him. Not spirits of witchcraft that have their contentions from his foundations, who have troubled him all his life. Not them following him to rule in Nigeria with him. There will be more confusion now. He has to go through that deliverance. So I hope one prophet that God has not sent is hearing this tape so that he can go and do the deliverance if he can. Because God has not changed his mind. God has not changed his mind. And that is why it is difficult for him to be my candidate when I know what the Spirit said. He has not seen God put a cap on his head again yet. If during the prayer in these 6 months, I see it, I will tell you, I saw it, to change your mind. Let's articulate. But I have not seen. Neither have I seen, let's be obedient. When I hear, you will hear. I will lead the way. The church must go back to its creator. The Muslim imams, if they truly claim they hear God, the sheikhs, let them go back to the creator. Nigeria needs help now. Any seer, anybody who is connected to God must go back to God. Don't follow emotions of religion and kill ourselves for nothing when the Almighty has not spoken. And then we had this meeting in Lagos where all our organs came. Now, I'm not going to tell you that story plainly, so allow me to talk in small parables. And a few of us from the north warned them that Buhari was not the one. Humanly speaking, I had a conflict. I was already emotionally, not emotionally, physically, actually close to Osibanjo, very close. We had done quite a few things before the elections. I mean, before his candidacy. So when they came and said he was the, what do they call it now? The running mate to Buhari, I became confused. I had a choice. Should I be true to God? Or let the friendship becloud me a little? Let me step down my high horse and flow with the people. And then they annoyed me in those meetings. How did they annoy me? They said, because of the vice president, all Christians should vote for Buhari. I said, what? Is that what the Lord has spoken? Everybody ignored God though. They said, it is being logical. He is a pastor. That day, I remember the contribution I made. Number one, I said a vice president has no power. He lives under the magnanimity of the president. He can be there throughout Hotone. Oh, they said no, not Buhari. Buhari is not like that. Those of them who knew, hey, Buhari likes Christians and Muslims, they started talking military thing. He's a military man. There is no Muslim Christian in military. I said, when Satan has chosen a candidate, he's no longer neutral. I see in the spirit. They now ask me, what has the Lord spoken? I said, the Lord said Buhari is not God's will. God didn't say Osibanjo is not God's will. He said Buhari is not God's will. So if Buhari will be the one leading as the president, it means it is not God's will. If Osibanjo will be leading as president and Buhari as deputy, it is God's will. Not because Osibanjo was a Christian or a pastor. Because there was a light in him shining. I didn't see in the president. Okay. Maybe if we chose him, maybe if that is God's will, God will kill one. I said, God does not work like that. He's not a murderer. He commands absolute obedience first. So what are you saying? I said, don't vote Buhari. Do we vote Atiku? I said, Atiku doesn't have a cap on his head. Kure, you are confusing us. Of course, the prophets confuse everybody. I said, let God's will be done. Let's allow God to unfold. Bishop Oyedepo was in that meeting. He raised his hand and said something that annoyed people. Everybody got angry. They angered him so much that he carried his things and walked out of that meeting. I won't tell you where he stood. I'm only telling you where I stood. It is him to tell his own story. Why he walked out of that meeting. Because he was one of those who didn't agree with the Buhari candidacy. He had his own reasons, not my own, not like my own. But his reasons were different. He had his own facts. He walked out of the meeting. And when he walked, of course the followers followed. Those who were pro him there followed. I sat down. I was watching that meeting. But that was the meeting. They did something that pained me, but it was also the right thing. They refused the right vice president addressing us. He was to come to address. He said, no, he won't step in here. We're not done. And that was a good principle for the church. But the same people who spoke there went out and became the machinery for Buhari. Same people, the same fathers. After hearing God's will. And they convinced so many Christians, set platforms. The Muslims should not deceive themselves. Buhari was Christian candidate because of Osibanjo in 2015. That was where the Christians failed their God. Because it's not about Buhari. Christians voted for Shehu Shagari. It's not the first time Christians are voting elections in this country. They voted for Shehu Shagari. Voted en masse. Shehu Shagari was a serious Muslim. But he was a king for all of us. When I say serious Muslim, he prayed 5 times a day. He did all these things more than any other fanatic I know. His Goshi will tell you that. His Goshi was so dark.